Happy Sunday, everyone, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. It's time for Puck It with Joe. We've got two fantastic games out there on the ice today. We're going to kick it off with the first one. The Florida Panthers are taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, it's not the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins. Man, I'm back a series, you guys. The Boston Bruins here will be without Brad Marchand in this matchup. And that's hugely impactful for this team. I really did think Florida was the right side before the announcement. And now, since that announcement, I think even more so. Brad is so impactful for the Boston Bruins. And I do think without him on the ice, while other players step up, there will be struggles out there. Now, Swayman should be in net, and Swayman over the last couple of games has been allowing those goals to come in by the Florida Panthers. We're going to have to see the Boston Bruins defense really step up in this one, and I do think Swayman's due for a really hot game. So looking at a couple of things in this one, we know Bobrovsky's been hot. We know the defense of the Florida Panthers has been absolutely phenomenal. In the last game, they held the Boston Bruins to 3 shots on goal in the first period. Phenomenal. What we saw out of them. I remember watching that first couple of minutes going, when is Boston going to get a shot? And they just weren't able to. So 3 shots in the first couple of minutes, or in that first period there. I do think Florida comes out the same way. So because of that, while I do think Florida can score in that first period, I'm not seeing those 2 goals coming. I really do think we'll get the best out of Swayman and the defense here, the Boston Bruins in the first. I'm going to take the under 1.5 in the first period. Now, it's kind of juicy at minus 128, but I do think it has a really strong opportunity of hitting. I'm not touching the full game because if Swayman doesn't have that bounce back game that I'm expecting, this game will nicely go over that total. We know in that last game, the Florida Panthers won 6-2, and the Boston Bruins weren't able to get any goals until late in that game, coming in the third period. So I'm expecting Florida to be able to score in this one, just not heavily. I would look at even a 4-1 style game here for the Florida Panthers. So while they're juicy on that money line, you could look at the puck line here, laying 1.5 for the Florida Panthers, coming in at plus 152. They're minus 172. So this has moved 22 cents from this morning. It was minus 150 this morning. That total 5.5 juice to the under at minus 120. That's where I would expect it to stay. But like I said, this is going to depend on Swayman. I could still see 4 goals on Swayman. So will Bobrovsky stop at least enough goals so that Boston doesn't get 2 goals, because 2 goals would push us over if I'm thinking Florida has 4. So a little cautious on this total. I do think Florida is the right side, and the under 1.5, but I think the best bet here is to look at some goal scorers, especially for the Florida Panthers. Matthew Tkachuk has been absolutely pivotal out here for the Florida Panthers, and I do think he continues to be that way. You can take Matthew Tkachuk for 2+ points in this game. They could all come by the way of assists. He had 3 assists in the last game. That's coming in at plus 230. You know Matthew Tkachuk loves getting under the skin of the Boston Bruins. So I do expect him to have that impactful game in this one here. Matthew Tkachuk for the 2+ points at plus 230. Now, another player that value-wise, I can't not look at him again. Brandon Montour, I got in the last game for an anytime goal at plus 500, and he was able to cash that nicely for us. Now, he had 2 points in game 2, 3 points in game 1, and a goal in each. So phenomenally strong out there. He's an offensive defenseman. He's a player that we've played a lot during the regular season, and he's really stepping up here in this series. His anytime goal for tonight's game is plus 600. I can't say no, you guys. And what's the likelihood of him getting 3 goals in a row? Well, obviously, he has Swayman's number, so I am expecting him to find the back of the net. Either way, it's definitely worth a shot. Now, Florida had 33 shots on goal in both game 1 and 2. We saw the Boston Bruins over those 2 games only combined for 32 shots on goal. So Florida's defense is really stepping up and locking down. Vancouver is absolutely live tonight. And Mailman Mike, I think you're my new favorite person. Someone else who is doubting the Edmonton Oilers. I think either way, Edmonton will get the goals on the board. If Vancouver is going to win this, it's going to be a 5-4 style game like we saw in that last one out there. on the ice, the first game for Vancouver. I think we could see that style of game where Edmonton gets up fast and Vancouver absolutely fights back. So let's look at the lines on that game. We have the Vancouver Canucks plus 155, the Edmonton Oilers at minus 188. Total 6.5, minus 115 to the under, minus 105 to the over. If you like Edmonton laying the 1.5, that's coming in at plus 134. The Vancouver Canucks plus 1.5 at minus 162. I can't hit, but I do think this game goes to overtime. There's just too much juice plus the 1.5. I do think this goes over that total of 6.5. I'm expecting those goals to come in. The overtime bet's coming in at plus 370. Now, a lot of people would say Edmonton might lock down on the defensive side of things, but I just don't trust Skinner. You look at that last game, Edmonton was able to win game 2. It was overtime 4-3 win there. It was the Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl show. I think secondary players need to step up. They need that depth to come in for scoring. And because I think they need that depth, I am looking for Corey Perry to get more playing time in this one now that Edmonton can set those lines. So Corey Perry coming in at plus 500. Now, the last 2 games were in Vancouver. He only had around 10 minutes on the ice, between 10 and 11 minutes in both of those games. I'm expecting him to be impactful here. We know Corey Perry was brought in for a reason, and he was brought in for his playoff style hockey. So Corey Perry for the anytime goal at plus 500. He's due, you guys, and I hate using the word due, but he hasn't scored in this series. He didn't score in the series versus the Kings, and we're getting him at plus 500, which is really interesting because you look at Zadorov here for the Vancouver Canucks, and I know he's an offensive defenseman, but this is a player that has scored in the first 2 games in Vancouver. He's coming in at plus 950 for the anytime goal. So Corey Perry, I think we should be getting more plus money on him, but I think the books think he's due as well. I am going to hit Zadorov, though, of the Vancouver Canucks for the anytime goal. He had a goal in the first 2 games and an assist in both. So I think he comes out. You can look at his points tonight for Zadorov if you want as well. I think Edmonton's team total is live as well, over 3.5 at minus 118. Like I said, even if Vancouver wins, I think this is a 5-4 win for the Vancouver Canucks. I could see this one being 4-4 OT. I can also see Edmonton coming out scoring right away and going up in that first period. I think this is a super competitive, fast-paced game, especially on Edmonton's ice. So you guys, it's going to be a great night out there on the ice. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for dropping that Happy Mother's Day. Panthers and Rangers are going to be, Mike, I cannot wait for the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers in that series. I'm going to be torn for who I actually want to win versus who I'm going to be betting. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Goran, I can see Edmonton winning this one on their home ice. I really do think the series goes all the way to 7. So with this series right now sitting the way it is, I do think Vancouver picks up one of these wins in Edmonton. You're getting great plus money on them if you think they can pull off this win tonight. I'm not taking a side, like you guys know, just Edmonton's team total to that over, the game to the over, the overtime at plus 370. I love that bet. And then Corey Perry for the anytime goal and Zadorov of the Vancouver Canucks for the anytime goal at plus 950. But you guys, Rangers in 6. Rangers are getting it done. You don't think it's going to be in 5, though? I think it was a gentleman's sweep. I really do think they win it in Madison Square Garden. Be fantastic for the fans. You guys, that's all for me. I'm going to go back and get ready to watch this game. That game kicking off in the next 3 minutes here. You guys have a fantastic day. If you haven't called your moms, make sure you do so. And to all the dads that are doing double duty out there, happy Mother's Day to you too. So you guys, all the best in all of your bets. We'll talk to you tomorrow.